Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming here today. My name is Latonia Hines. I'm the Executive Assistant District Attorney here at the Cobb County District Attorney's Office. You're going to hear from our DA Flynn Broady and then from our Chief ADA Jason Saliba today, and we'll have a video presentation and questions will be afterwards. DA Broady.
Good evening. Thank you guys for coming today. The first thing I want to do is express my sincerest condolences to the Truitt family for the loss of their young son, Vincent Truitt. This morning, the Cobb grand jurors were presented with the facts surrounding the shooting of 17-year-old Vincent Truitt. That occurred on July 13, 2020, as well as the law governing use of deadly force is set forth in OCGA 15-12-771B and 17-420B. After closed deliberations, the grand jurors determined the officer's use of deadly force was authorized and recommended that my office take no further action in regard to this case. Here with me today, as explained before, was ADA Jason Saliba, Deputy Chief ADA Jason Saliba. He will review the video with you, and afterwards we will take questions, and also we have a closing statement. So thank you.
Good evening. On July 13th of 2020, at approximately 11:20 in the evening, officers of the Cobb County Police Department received a tag reader hit in the area, as you can see on the screens around you, Riverside Parkway, I-20, South Service Road. The white building is the epicenter to orient you. That flock hit indicated that there was a silver Nissan Altima that had been stolen from Atlanta approximately 23 hours before. Officers of the Cobb County Police Department located the Altima, attempted to stop it at a Quick Trip. What you will see this afternoon is the Quick Trip video, the surveillance video from the Quick Trip. That was unsuccessful. A short pursuit ensued. At the end of that pursuit, behind a warehouse off of Riverside Parkway, this building to be specific, the car was stopped. The driver fled the vehicle. Mr. Truitt came over from the passenger side in the front and fled out of the driver's door while holding a weapon, was engaged by Cobb County Police, and shots were fired. You'll see the Quick Trip video, the dash cam video, and the body cam video. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see coming head on with the headlights is the silver Altima coming in the direction of the police officer. Ladies and gentlemen, the signal 4 you heard at the end of that, the radio transmission, it's Cobb County Police Code to activate and bring in emergency medical services that the officers was putting out immediately. It should be noted, although we have not shown it out of respect for Mr. Truitt and his family, that the officers almost immediately transitioned to rendering life-saving aid, chest seals, CPR, and other medical techniques. He was transported to Grady Hospital, entered surgery that night, was transferred to the ICU later that evening, and died approximately noon the next day, a little over 12 hours after these incidents. The last thing we want to show you is a still. This is the still as Mr. Truitt exits the vehicle, and you can clearly see in this area the weapon that he's holding that was recovered you saw on the ground at the end of the video. Thank you.
We will take any questions now.
Which hand did he have the gun in there?
When he first came out of the vehicle, he had the gun in his right hand.
And the officer saw the gun in his hand?
Yes, the officer saw the gun in his hand. There's a portion of the video that we did not play in respect to the family where the young man actually asked the officer, "Why did you shoot me?" And the officer responds, "Because you had a weapon."
Now, when the grand jury saw this video, we just saw it in real time there. Did they just see it one time? Like, how was that evidence presented to the grand jury?
I'll let you answer that, Jason.
The grand jury met today. They were presented with all of the, excuse me, I'm not used to doing this. They were presented with all the witness statements. They were to include the statement given by one of the gentlemen located in the car. They were presented with all of the video of every officer who was behind that warehouse, body cam and dash cam of every vehicle behind that warehouse during the incident. They were given, GBI agent testified. He gave the details of every part of the investigation. They were shown the exterior video from the warehouse that showed the incident. They were showed a slowed version of the body cam as well as the still you saw and a few other stills that are part of the GBI file.
How many hours of tape are we talking here?
I honestly didn't time it because we had the interviews and the other audio, but it was several hours worth that they were shown.
And all that video that we saw, all the evidence that was reviewed by the grand jury, there was only one frame of video that showed the gun in Truitt's hand.
No, sir. There's several frames of video that show the gun in Mr. Truitt's hand.
What about asking him to first stop, drop his weapon, any command other than firing straight away?
What you have seen is the video of the shooting. There's obviously more that goes on either side of that. It speaks for itself.
What about is there protocol though? Are they meant to say drop your weapon first? What's the procedure?
I'll defer to Mr. Broady on that, but
Each of our police agencies has a SOP for their use of force. And just following the law of 17-420, it says that if an officer is chasing a felon who has a weapon, who can pose a danger to the others, he has the ability to fire, to use deadly force. And in this case, the officer followed his SOP to the letter and also followed the law found in 17-420.
What charges were presented to the grand jury?
There were no charges presented to the grand jury. Basically, what was presented to the grand jury were the facts, and the grand jury was to decide, did we need to actually charge the officer with anything? And if that would have been the case, we would have drawn a presentment to ask for charges.
Is this case civil or criminal?
Basically, it's a criminal case. It was presented as a criminal case, yes.
Is the district attorney's office required to follow the grand jury's recommendation?
I have made it my policy, and this is what I've told the police officers, that in any police shooting, officer-involved shooting, that I'll present it to the grand jury and let the grand jury make a decision based on our community citizens looking at what's best for their community. I will not make a decision on my own that requires me to either show my bias or show emotion for what I've seen in live video. Because as an African-American, you hate to see any African-American shot down. But the fact is we have to follow the law. And the law says the officer was within his rights. And if you see the video, or if you saw where the location was, there were plenty of places that young man could have hid and presented an opportunity to ambush the officer or the officers that were chasing the other assailant that had ran ahead of him.
Will you present this case to a second grand jury?
No. This case will be closed by our office, and once the open records material is available, we will let you know that so that you can subpoena it or ask for the open records material.
And DA, if you can be a little bit more clear, because again, we're just watching the video for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
We were presented one picture here.
Yes.
How many pictures were shown to the grand jury? Because we've only seen one still there. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Jason.
How many pictures are we talking? Are we talking different angles, or are we talking one angle with that one picture?
You're asking about still shots. I already told you what video was shown. Of the stills, there were stills shown from the warehouse camera that shows them going from the side. When the officer drew his weapon, there were stills shown that show obviously what you just saw, and as well as when he's running, how the gun was presented or was in his hand and how his arms were moving. Slowed video, same video slowed down, as well as stills taken from those. I will tell you, when you look at the stills, they're a little blurry because they're taken from live motion video, but that's what was shown to the grand jury.
Mr. Broady, have you had any kind of communication with Mr. Truitt's family or attorneys since the grand jury ruling came down?
Yes, we did. We called his family. We called Mr. Griggs, the attorney for the family, at 11 o'clock this morning to let him know that it was being presented to the grand jury today. We had a room set up for them to stay at until we got the answer from the grand jury. So we met them at that room, came back. Once we got the answer, went back again and gave them the answer that the grand jury presented.
How long did it take the grand jury to decide?
The evidence, as well as their deliberations, we started at 8:30 this morning, and they concluded sometime after 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Now, the family attorney and Truitt family have contended and contested that Mr. Truitt, while we've seen the gun now in his hand, he was running away. He had claimed that he was not a threat while running away from these police officers. What's your position on this? Because again, we're seeing this video for the first time. Everything happens quickly. Troy gets out of the car. Couple of seconds later, 2 shots fired.
I think you have to, when you see the slow down video, you'll see that even though it was just a couple of seconds, there was plenty of distance that the officer ran before he reached for his gun. And when Truitt comes out the video, the gun is obvious, and he actually takes a peek back at the officer. He's running with the gun in the direction that other officers are. And like I said before, there were many places he could have hid that caused the officer some concern. And I believe the officer was within his authority to do the actions that he took.
What's your message to the community who may disagree with the grand jury's decision today?
I think my message to the community that we cannot let emotions dictate how we see things, that we have to look at the facts. And I'll give you a quote from Malcolm X. Malcolm X says, "I am for justice, no matter who it's for or who it's against." And my job as a district attorney is to make sure that I look out for everybody, not just the victims, but also the offenders, to make sure that they get a fair hearing based on the evidence. And that's what we did today.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for those questions. If you have anything else, Kimmy Zaza, our PIO, is behind you. She can be able to answer anything else you need. And you'll have the ability with open records once those records are available. Thank you.